Hello, it's Miss Janelle here with the DeSoto Public Library, and I'm here for another story time at your house. All right, so I'm ready to get started. Are you ready to get started? Yeah? All right, well, we are doing some very special story times for the next couple of weeks, and that is because we are celebrating our Mayor Summer Reading Club. And what that is a program where you can read books all summer long and win prizes for reading. So every time you read for 30 minutes, or you come to Miss Janelle's story time, you can count that as a day of reading. And when you've done 5 days of reading, guess what? You can come to the library and pick up a free book. Now, we're only going to be doing that through July, so starting July 6th and going all the way through July 30th, we'll be doing the Mayor Summer Reading Club. But how about for right now, let's get started with our regular story time. Now, do you know what we always start with? Yes, the welcome song. So let's go ahead and sing it. And if you don't know it, that's okay, because it's really easy. It sounds just like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but it goes, welcome, welcome everyone. Now we're here, let's have some fun. First we'll clap our hands just so. Then we'll reach and touch our toes. Welcome, welcome everyone. Now we're here, let's have some fun. Yay! Excellent! Thank you so much for singing that song with me. It's really great. But wait a minute. It's too quiet in here. Did you hear that? Oh my goodness! Do you know who that is? Yes! It's my friend Otis. But if you don't know Otis, let's talk about Otis. He has some problems. His first problem is that he's smelly. Oh no! The reason he's smelly is because he never takes a bath. And because he never takes a bath, you know what? He's covered in fleas. No! Oh no, Otis. But that's still not the worst thing about him. Do you know what else about him? He's grumpy. He is. Oh my goodness, he always has a bad attitude. But as bad as that is, there's still something worse. He sleeps during my story time. And should you sleep during Miss Janelle's story time? No. So let's go ahead and wake him up. Now there's only one way in the whole wide world to wake up Otis. And we have to say, 1, 2, 3, wake up Otis. Think you can do it with me? All right, we're gonna wake him up because we're gonna have some really good story times. Ready? 1, 2, 3, wake up, Otis! Otis, wake up! No, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to wake up. I was having really good dreams. You were? Yeah. What were you dreaming about? I was dreaming about going all over the world. You were? Yeah. And I was dreaming about listening to all kinds of different stories from people around the world. Really? Yeah. Well, I'm glad actually that you had that dream. You are? Yeah. Because we are actually going to travel around the world during our story time. Oh, you are. Oh, yeah. I can't wait. I want to get on the airplane. Wait. I don't see an airplane. How are we going to travel around the world? Otis, we are going to read stories from people around the world. Well, why would we do that? Well, A, because it's story time, but also because of the Mayor Summer Reading Club. The mayor what's he club? The Mayor Summer Reading Club. Every year that we have a program where you can read books and you get prizes. Oh, I like prizes. I want to join. Well, you can join, but you do have to register online and you have to read for 30 minutes a day. Oh, I can do that. What kind of prizes do I get? You get free books. Oh, gift cards. Oh, I want it, I want to do it. All right, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It doesn't start until next Monday. Oh, okay. But in the meantime, we can start reading our stories from around the world, because this year the theme for the Mayor's Summer Reading Club is Imagine Your Story. And since we want to know about the stories of people everywhere, we're going to read fairy tales and folk tales from around the world. Oh, yeah. I want to do that. So does that mean you're going to stay awake? Yeah. Do you promise? Yeah. Where are we going to start? Oh, so I'm glad you asked. We are going to start with Europe, and we're going to read some European fairy tales. Now, you might know about some of these already because they're kind of familiar tales, but that's okay. So we're going to start off with places we know, and then maybe we'll read some stories we don't know so well in the following weeks. Oh, that sounds really good. I want to do that. I want to do it. Okay, Otis, so that you know what that means? Yeah, that you're going to stay awake. Yeah, I always do. Does Otis stay awake? Okay, Otis, you promised you're going to stay awake during story time. Ready? And... Oh, man. He's going to miss our first place that we're going to travel around the world. And that's we're going to go to Europe. And we're going to read a fairy tale that you might already know about. But that's okay, because it's still a good tale from Europe. And this is called Cinderella. Have you ever heard this story before? Oh, if you haven't, it's a good one. But if you have, that's okay. You can always listen to a story you've heard before because they're that good. Here we go. And remember, this comes from Europe. Once upon a time, a rich merchant lived with his daughter. He loved the girl for all her beautiful face and her sweet heart. But after his wife died, he decided to marry a second time. And his new wife was selfish and cruel. And she had 2 daughters of her own who were just like her. The stepmother forced her stepdaughter to wash the pots and pans and scrub the floors and tend the fire. And they called her Cinderella. One day, the king sent word that he would hold a grand ball, and there the prince would choose a wife. I shall wear my red velvet with lace, declared the older stepsister, and I'm going to wear my satin with golden flowers, said the younger one. Oh, but please, may I go to the ball? Asked Cinderella. Certainly not, said her stepmother, and the stepmother and stepsisters swept off in their carriage to the castle, leaving Cinderella all alone. Oh no. Cinderella sat by the fire, and a gentle voice asked, "Why are you crying?" Cinderella jumped up. There in the kitchen stood a woman with the kindest face she had ever seen. "Don't worry, my dear," the woman said. "I am your fairy godmother, and I will send you to the ball." "But, godmother," said Cinderella, "I have no carriage or horses or even a gown to wear." "Oh, never fear," said her godmother, "and bring me a pumpkin from the garden." Bewildered, Cinderella picked a plump orange pumpkin. The godmother touched the pumpkin with her magic of her wand. Oh, what happened to the pumpkin? And it turned into an elegant coach. And when the wand brushed Cinderella's rags, she was dressed in pale blue velvet with silver satin. And on her feet were a pair of glass slippers, delicate as icicles. "You are dressed like a queen," said her godmother. "Behave like one as well. Be kind and courteous to all you meet, and leave the ball before midnight, or everything that my spells have created will vanish." Ooh, let's find out what happens when she goes to the ball. Cinderella promised to come home by midnight and rode off to the ball. When Cinderella walked into the ballroom, the fiddlers paused on their strings. The dancers craned their necks to see her, and the prince bowed low and asked her to dance. Whispers raced through the crowd. She must be a princess from some foreign land. How gracefully she dances! What a sweet smile! Why, the prince can't keep his eyes off of her. But Cinderella remembered her godmother's words. Before midnight, she curtsied to the prince and hurried out the door. "Wait!" he cried, running after her. But when he looked outside, the beautiful princess was nowhere to be found. He could see nothing but a shabby little servant girl with a pumpkin in her arms. And on the steps was one of the glass slippers. When Cinderella's stepsisters arrived home, they were full of stories about the mysterious princess. And the next day, the prince arrived at their house. A servant followed him carrying a glass slipper. The elder stepsister sat on a stool, and she shoved and she pushed, and she cried, but she could not get her foot into the shoe. The younger stepsister tried next, and she wiggled and twisted and sobbed, but her foot would not fit either. Then the prince heard a quiet voice asking, "May I try too?" "Get back to your kitchen," cried the stepmother. But the prince remembered Cinderella's voice and her gentle eyes and her sweet smile. He knelt and slipped the shoe on Cinderella's foot. He was not surprised when he drew the matching slipper from her pocket and placed it on the other foot. "You are the princess I danced with," he said. "I knew it the minute I saw you." And he and Cinderella lived happily ever after. The end. Great job! Thank you so much for reading that story with me. You did a wonderful job listening to the story of Cinderella. Now, I would like to teach you a song. Now, this is a very important song because we're going to be traveling all around the world the next couple weeks. And so as we travel around the world, it's something for us to think about that sometimes the world is really big and sometimes the world is really small. And when we say it's small, it means that there are things we all have in common and we can all come together even though we live in different parts of the world. So, I'm going to teach a song and we're going to sing it every week for the next 5 weeks. So I hope you learn it well with me. And it's a really easy song. It's about the world being small. And it goes something like this. It goes, "It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small, small world. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hopes, it's a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. 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 It's a small, small world." Yay! Thank you so much for singing that with me. You did a great job, and I promise by the end of the month, you'll know that song as well as Miss Janelle does. All right, but since we're reading stories, let's do another story that comes from Europe. And it's another traditional fairy tale. And this one is a retelling by Eric Blair. And I have special permission from my friends at Capstone to read this story. So let's find out about the Frog Prince. And it's another tale from Europe. Once upon a time, there was a king with many daughters. The youngest daughter was the most beautiful. The princess had a golden ball. It was her favorite toy. By the forest there was a deep well, and the princess would go near the well and play with her golden ball. One day the ball landed in the well, and the princess began to cry. "Why are you crying, Ribbit?" a frog asked. "I lost my golden ball in the well," the princess said. "Let me be your friend," the frog said. "Ribbit." The princess agreed, but the princess wasn't telling the truth. She was thinking, "This frog is silly. How could a frog ever have a human for a friend?" The frog dived into the well, and he quickly returned with the golden ball. The princess picked up the ball and quickly ran away. "Wait a minute, is that how you treat someone who's your friend? Someone who did something nice to you?" I don't think that princess was being very kind at all. The next day, the princess was at the dinner table with her father, the king, and there was a knock at the door. The princess ran to see who it was at the door, and when she saw the frog, she slammed the door in his face. "Oh dear." "Well, who was that?" he asked. "It's just an ugly frog," she said. The princess told her father about the ball, the frog, and the promise she had made. Then the princess began to cry. Her father became angry. "When someone helps you and you have made a promise, you must keep it," the king said. So the princess carefully picked up the frog and she carried him upstairs to her bedroom because the king said she had to be nice to him. But when she got there, the princess became angry, and she picked up the frog and threw him against the wall as hard as she could. "There, you ugly frog! Now you'll sleep," she said. Wait a minute. I don't think that's what her father said to do. I don't think that's being very kind to the frog. When he dropped to the floor, the frog turned into a handsome prince. He told the princess a wicked witch had cast a spell on him, and she had broken the spell. Well, the princess let the prince become her dearest friend and husband, and they lived happily ever after. The end. And that's the story of the Frog Prince. Great job. Thank you for listening to that story. Now, let's sing another song. And it's going to be another song I'm going to teach you. You might kind of know the song a little bit already, but we're going to get to know it really well because we're going to sing it every week for the next 5 weeks as we travel around the world. Now, this is a song about having the whole world in your hands. And it's the same idea that when you have the world in your hands, that means you can do anything in the world. The world is there for you. And sometimes you can have you and me and our brothers and our sisters all together. We hold each other in our hands. And then sometimes when we listen to each other's stories, we can hold all of our stories in our hands. All right, you think you can sing it with me? It's really easy. It sounds just like this. It goes, we've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world In our hands we've got the whole world. In our hands we've got the whole world in our hands. We've got you and me and brother. In our hands we've got you and me and brother. In our hands we've got you and me and brother. In our hands we've got the whole world in our hands. We've got you and me and sister. In our hands we've got you and me and sister. In our hands we've got you and me and sister. In our hands we've got the whole world in our hands. We've got all of our stories. In our hands we've got all of our stories. In our hands we've got all of our stories. In our hands we've got the whole world in our hands. All right, thank you for singing that with me. Now remember, the whole world in our hands, and it's a small world, because we're going to sing those every week as we travel around the globe together. So today we went to Europe. Next week we're going to fly away with our imaginations and read the stories from Africa. And after that we're going to follow with our imaginations and we're going to read stories from Asia. And then after that we're going to travel back to North America, the United States, and we're going to learn stories from Native America. And then our last stop, we're going to travel south and we are going to learn stories from Latin America. So we've got a very busy schedule. So get ready, pack your bags as we do the Summer Reading Club, Imagine Your Story. All right, so get ready to start reading. Visit our website so you can register to win your free prizes at the DeSoto Public Library. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me.